Yes, hello everyone and welcome to all our West Australian football fans to another edition of Around the WAFL. It is our finals edition, the first throughout the month of September, and of course all episodes during finals will be released on Wednesday, so keep yourselves right up to date on our socials, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Give us a big thumbs up, we really do appreciate it. We've got a huge show coming your way, reviewing week one of the finals and also looking ahead to the semi-finals this weekend. We're also going to be chatting to Jack Sears of Peel Thunder. He had a sensational game on the weekend against Subiaco, and also East Fremantle captain Matty Jupp ahead of the second semi-final at Fremantle Oval. My name is Paul Persick and alongside me is Mark Forey Foreman. Hello Mark, what a first week of the finals we've had.
G'day Paul. Oh, how good.
Oh,
I mean, yeah, lucky our tips don't count for much because we're not going great.
Nah, 0 from 2. Our tipping is now deep in the toilet.
Yeah, it's look, if 2 upsets, I reckon. And you know that was, I certainly did not see the East Perth result coming. So
Yeah.
that's why we did say that Claremont's performances had been weird, and well, that's almost even weirder because they've come and upset one of the high-flying teams of the comp.
Absolutely, of course. Claremont, they just wanted it more in that elimination final. We'll review that in just a little bit. Don't forget, both the semi-finals this weekend are live, free and in full on the AFL app. Saturday, the second semi-final, and then Sunday, the sudden death first semi-final. This is Around the WAFL, the official podcast of the WAFL. Now, just before we chat to Jack Sears, news this week for you. You were at the John Worsfold Medal recently, and there is going to be some changes that are going to aid the West Coast Eagles' competitiveness in the WAFL next season after winning their third straight wooden spoon. Can you tell us a little more about it?
Yeah, well, this was big news for the WAFL, and people have spoken about the credibility. What West Coast WAFL side have done to the credibility of the competition, etc. And we know why. They've been absolutely riddled with injury, but the WAFC has announced, I suppose, some loosening of restrictions on their salary cap. So, there wasn't really a salary cap. Previously, West Coast has been able to pay 4 players $500 a game, 1 player $400, and the remaining $350.
Yep.
They've now scrapped that. So West Coast will be granted 60% of other teams' total salary cap.
Okay.
So that is 60% of $245,000, which, some people will say, oh, why aren't they getting the same as other clubs? I think the concept there is the fact that they've got a lot of AFL listed players, and the idea is that when not playing AFL, they will be playing WAFL. But we saw what happened with West Coast this year when they were decimated by injury. So when those players aren't available, West Coast can now attract, the idea is to attract higher talented players, and they're allowed to distribute that 60% of the 245K however they like. So that was probably the biggest change. They'll also receive 5 extra player ranking points, taking the tally from 65 to 70. And then thirdly, it's an alteration to player retention. So if a player is drafted to West Coast and then is delisted from the AFL side, they will remain with West Coast. Whereas we've seen players take Hamish Brayshaw, really good example.
Yeah.
So as an AFL listed player, he then left the system and was attracted by East Perth. Now, we know how impressive Hamish Brayshaw is as a player and a person. If he was to remain at West Coast, that would have helped them enormously. He's one of the best players in the competition.
Yeah.
So, they're the really big changes this week, which I think is really positive, and West Coast have been pleading with the WAFC for a couple of years for this to happen.
That is huge news from the West Coast Eagles. Will that make them more competitive in 2024? Only time will tell.
And just quickly, obviously Rob Wiley will depart as well as the senior coach. So big changes for the West Coast WAFL system.
Certainly will be a new coach for the Eagles next year. Just a reminder, before we do chat to Jack Sears, all semi-finals are live, free and in full on the AFL app this weekend. You're with Around the WAFL, the official podcast of the West Australian Football League. All right, one of the stars of week one of the finals came from Peel Thunder, and when his side was down at halftime, he lifted them back up and got them home by 10 points over Subiaco in the qualifying final. Kicked a handy 4 goals on Saturday in very difficult conditions. He's Jack Sears, and he joins us on Around the WAFL. Jack, how are you, mate?
Good, mate. Cheers for having me.
Thanks for coming on the show today. Congrats on the win. It was a very tough one, it has to be said, in trying conditions over there at Leederville Oval, but that was a huge second half by your side.
Yeah, it was a great win for the boys. Gives us a lot of confidence for the rest of the final series. As you said, it was a pretty tough game in tough conditions. Obviously being down by 28, 29 points at halftime and coming back and getting the win was good by the boys, but win played a factor in a lot of the game, and it was just, good that we fixed up a few things at halftime to get the win.
Hey, Jack, Mark Foreman here. As you mentioned, you were the best part of 5 goals down at halftime. What was the message?
The main message was fixing contest work up. We're getting smashed inside with the contested ball, ground ball gets, clearances, our tackle pressure. We're getting smashed even though we were second to the ball most of the time. So that was the main message. Also playing more to the conditions. Obviously, wasn't a great day, and I think our kick to handball ratio was almost just under 1-to-1, which isn't great for the conditions. So they were probably the 2 main messages that we had to fix up, and I think we did that after half time.
Now, what about the balance between the local players and the Dockers players? A lot of people were saying that, there was a majority of Dockers players in those back-to-back premierships. Would it be fair to say that this year the team has got the balance absolutely spot on between Peel and local players?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the balance in the team right now is really good. I think it's 11 and 11 we had on the weekend, but if you add Nathan Wilson, who is also a Peel local, you can almost say there's 12 Peel local players playing out there. So it's a great balance in the team at the moment, but either way, there's 22 players putting a Peel jersey on each weekend, and our main goal as a team out there is to go out there and get the win.
Well, talking about those Dockers guys, Jack, some of the Fremantle boys were actually there in the crowd getting around the team. That must have given you a lift.
Yeah, it's definitely good to see those boys come down and watch us try and get the win. Obviously, the atmosphere at the game was probably one of the best I've seen for Peel supporters this year, whether that was just Peel supporters getting around behind the goals or in the stands, the Freo boys, the Peel players that weren't playing, just everyone there getting support, supporting us, trying to get the win was it was good to see. So
did those Freo boys get a bit rowdy, Jack?
I could see a few of them in the change room getting pretty rowdy and after. So
good.
I think their season's done, so they might as well have a couple of drinks.
There you go.
Fantastic stuff. And that just, gives a boost to the team, especially now that you've got one win before you can play in the grand final. Of course, second semi-final coming up, Jack, against East Fremantle at Fremantle Oval. The long trip once again from Mandurah all the way to the Port City. How do you fancy your chances against an East Fremantle side who have been at the head of the competition?
Yeah, a lot of respect for East Fremantle and what they've done this year. They've probably been the best side, or obviously being minor premiers. They've been the best side for the majority of the season. So, we know they're going to be a really good side and going to be hard to beat, especially up in Freo. But we still fancy ourselves. We're pretty confident that we can play our way in any conditions, especially after the weekend. So, we're just going to go up there, play our brand of footy, and it'd be good to get the win and go straight through.
What a cracker. That one's certainly going to be the second semi-final on Saturday. Jack, thank you so much for your time. Congrats on your performance at Leederville Oval. Go get him at Freo this Saturday.
Cheers for having me.
Jack Sears from the Peel Thunder Football Club. Mark, he was sensational in that second half with 4 handy goals, but he made such a good point. That balance between Peel and local players, and to add what Brady Gray said earlier in the season, it just has that boost of unity between the sides. Yeah,
and like you mentioned, we've spoken about this a few times, where it's so important to have, that's a difficult, the alignment concept is, can be difficult. So to strike the right balance is really important, and it seems that they've got it. So it was really great to hear from Jack, and I think a really positive thing that you can take out of that is how much support the Fremantle guys gave them. They went down there and made a ruckus of themselves, obviously all in a good way, and, really got behind the team. And I have absolutely no doubt that really helped them.
I expect a few more Dockers numbers, or even greater, to turn up at Fremantle Oval on Saturday for that second semi-final. Of course, Peel looking for their first grand final since 2017, when they won the second of their back-to-back premierships. Now, both semi-finals are live, free and in full on the AFL app. Fremantle Oval on Saturday, and of course Leederville for the sudden death semi on Sunday. This is Around the Waffle. You're with Paul Persick and Mark Foreman. Let's get to the games for week 1 of the finals. Trying conditions at Leederville Oval for the qualifying final between Subiaco and Peel Thunder. Subiaco 5 goals up during the early stage of the third quarter. You would safe to say they were home and hosed. I mean, they were playing some terrific football all throughout. They were getting the better of Peel in wet conditions, but that halftime message from Jeff Valentine must have sparked the Peel players on, especially with the likes of Sears, Brady Gray and Blair Bell, who had undoubtedly one of his best games in finals.
Yep. So being 5 goals down in a final is incredibly daunting. Like, goals in finals, they're just harder to come by.
Yeah.
And so to be 5 goals down at halftime, is almost against a really quality team as well in Subiaco is, pretty daunting, pretty intimidating. But we heard just a short time ago from Jack Sears, who said it was the contested ball, and that is finals footy.
That's right.
If you're not winning the contested ball, obviously in any game, but finals in particular, you're not going to win the game. So clearly they needed a rev up, and I think that's all it is. It's probably a bit of a mental sort of thing in finals. If you're not winning contested ball, it's probably more so mental, and that's what they got at halftime. And didn't they come out of the block 6 goals to none in the third quarter?
Sensational.
It was just incredible.
Certainly was. Of course, as we said, Sears delivering with 4 straight goals. Riley Smith and Liam Reedy sharing ruck duties against Zach Clark. Now, Zach Clark got 47 hitouts for Subiaco. Combine that with Smith and also Liam Reedy, they were able to get 47 hitouts as well. So they were able to equal Zach Clark's impact, maybe a little bit more so in the second half. That was a battle that we were always going to look at as a key battle. And I have to say, both the Peel rucks, Reedy and Smith, they got the better of Clark in that second half.
Yeah, I reckon they probably did. And what we spoke about in our preview of this match was whether we know he's going to win hitouts, but whether or not they can nullify his effect at ground level. And, keeping him to 12 touches, that's probably one of his lower counts this year. In fact, that's definitely one of his lower counts this year. So I think you're right. They've probably taken that battle, which went a long way to taking the win.
Subiaco, of course, having to face Claremont in a first semi-final next Sunday as we go to Claremont for that elimination final. By the way, of course, Peel winning 12-12-84 to 10-14-74. Claremont, of course, they'll face Subiaco this coming Sunday in a first semi-final after they outclassed East Perth in that elimination final, 11-6 to 9-6. There were a lot of fans out there. I was out there at Leederville Oval on that Sunday that, they weren't happy about some of the free kicks, has to be said. But I'm going to put them to bed here. Claremont just wanted it more.
Ooh.
Some of them were there. They put their heads over the football, and they just played the better physical, contested football. That is the bottom line. I mean, they had 13 more free kicks. So what? They got the better of East Perth in every department, especially when the game was pretty much still in the balance in that fourth quarter, and you had guys like Curtin, who's been sensational since coming into the league side, Bolton, a great finals player, and Oliver Eastland dominating in the ruck. Claremont, they were just more hungry. They showed more desire. And the loss for East Perth on the other side of the coin, that will be a handy finals lesson for them next year.
I'm sure they don't see it that way now. They'll be, they'll be absolutely shattered with that. We got to speak to Hamish Brayshaw on a program that I work for on the Friday night, and they were really, ready and gunning for that and ready to launch an assault, not just on Claremont, but on the whole final series. So I think this has taken everybody by surprise, and certainly disappointing. It was, reasonably tough conditions, and we've got some low numbers for our top ball winners. So it was just a hard-fought, contested game. But like you said, and like we spoke about, Claremont brought that real aggression.
We haven't seen that for about 6 weeks before that elimination final. Claremont, they were very confusing in the last 6 rounds. They got 2 big wins at home, but those 4 straight losses could have had all that hard work come to nothing. But that was the hard, intense Claremont that not just me, not just you, but everyone around the WAFL world wanted to see. Hard-nosed, intense approach to football. We got that on Sunday. Yeah,
and look, you said they had 2 big wins after those 4 losses. They were against teams which they should have beaten. So we still didn't really know where Claremont was, but those 4 losses leading in, they were top of the table. It was they were pretty much flying, and then they weren't. So this is why Claremont was always dangerous, because we know Claremont at their best can be an incredibly damaging team and a team you don't want to come up against. And East Perth, although they finished fifth, pardon me. East Perth.
East Perth finished 4th, but of course with that loss.
Yeah, although East Perth finished 4th, they were still one of the best teams, I think, in the comp. So this win from Claremont is such a confidence booster. And, could do wonders for their finals campaign.
Absolutely. You're having to go through the grand final the hard way, but I tell you what, if they can get 3 wins and go to the big dance, it is certainly well-deserved in their mission for redemption. Big
Exactly
win for
right.
Claremont, 12 points the margin. It was the finals race, now down to 4. We're going to have a chat with Matty Jupp, the East Fremantle captain, a little bit later on in the show, but just a reminder, both the semi-finals this weekend are live, free, and in full on the AFL app. You do not want to miss it. It is an absolute cracker of a weekend. This is Around the Waffle, the official podcast of the West Australian Football League. Let's go now to those semi-finals. We have got absolute barnstormer of a weekend of football, Mark, coming up. Second semi-final. I'm going to be on the call for this one for the AFL app. But before we preview those games, the second semi-final and the first semi-final, we have got the captain of the East Fremantle Football Club. We can't wait to have him on, Matty Jupp. He joins us here on Around the Waffle. Juppy, hello, mate. Good to have you on the show.
G'day, guys. Thanks for having me.
That's a pleasure to have you on, Juppy, the East Fremantle captain. Now, you're fresh after a week off, finishing on top of the ladder, and now your side gets to take over Fremantle Oval. Huge day it is for the club.
Yeah, it is. It's sort of sitting there biding your time on the week off and watching eagerly the other 2 games that went along on the weekend. And yeah, we're super pumped to get into Peel on the Saturday at our new home ground, South Fremantle Oval.
Matt, Mark Foreman here. Nice to chat with you again. It's obviously been a pretty tough week. How have, particularly with the off-field news, how's the club sort of handled that, and how are the guys feeling?
Yeah, look, it's a funny one. Obviously, the news comes as a shock to the players and the guys around the club. So look, initially it was a little bit of a shock and a little bit upsetting to hear. But to be fair, mate, it's completely out of the players' control. There's really nothing we can do to influence what's happened or influence what's going to happen. So I think what I have been quite pleased with is how quickly the players have moved on. I mean, we've got a job to do this year. That's sort of stuff that we can't really control at all. And our year's been riddled with things out of our control in terms of training venues and the like. And look, it's just something that we'll deal with. We've spoken about it internally. We've addressed it, and yeah, I think the players will be fine. It certainly won't affect us come Saturday.
Matt, just on that, when were you told, and how were you told?
Well, we found out, like most people, through the news that sort of released on Saturday. Obviously,
right.
The club was dealing with it with the WAFL. Leading into the for a period of time, so we were sort of a bolt out of the blue and found out sort of pretty early on the Saturday, and then we addressed it as a club. We sort of came in as a playing group, and the leaders of the club, the president addressed us, and Bill addressed us as well. And look, like I said, it's out of our control. We can sit here and ruminate on it, but it's really not going to change or affect anything. So. Really, really impressed with the way the players have dealt with it. To be fair, guys.
Yeah, awesome.
They're pretty happy to move on and focus on what is going to be a seriously big finals campaign for us.
Absolutely, very important business to take care of on the field over at Fremantle Oval. What was the big strengths out of Peel Thunder that you saw from their qualifying final win over Subiaco? Of course, they got a very good balanced side between the Dockers and the local players. Who do you think is going to be those ones to really look out for come Saturday?
Oh, look, you look no further than their captain, Benny Hancock. He's a super footballer at this level. I know Blair Bell went in. He goes inside the midfield, and he's a really dangerous player. Then you've got they're littered with talent across the field. Nathan Wilson's extremely exciting off half back. Will Brodie's an A-grade midfielder at this level, and they've got a really solid forward line. They've got a few different looks with young Jack Sears on the weekend, bobbing up and kicking for. So, yeah, I think they're very balanced, like you said, Paul, and they're going to present different challenges. I think part of the charm of this year is every team has got different strengths and every team plays a little bit differently. So it's really exciting coming up against Peel. That they pose a different threat than Subi did, which was our last opponent a few weeks ago. So we'll get to work on Peel this week, and we're super pumped to get out there. It's you sit there twiddling your thumbs a little bit over the bye week, so we're raring to go.
It is a big day, no doubt about that. Now I'm going to pose the question to you in regards to 2 players, Milan Murdoch and Jonathan Marsh. Will they play on Saturday?
Yeah, well, Jono was a really late out against Subi, so like he was close to playing. And look, an extra week off, 2 weeks down the track, I guess, he's been training with us. He'll put his hand up for selection, and Milan as well. He played reserves and got through that game unscathed against Subi. So he's another one that will put his hand up for selection. I dare say both of those guys will be in the lineup this weekend.
Hey, Matt, it's obviously been a while for East Fremantle at the, winning a premiership. But what about yourself and grand final experience through your junior days? Have you ever won one?
Yeah, I was pretty lucky through my junior days.
Okay.
I was part of the mighty South Perth Stingrays, and we won 3 or 4 premierships in that era. So have tasted premiership success at the junior level, and it's probably not quite the same as winning it at senior level, but certainly, they're great days and fond memories. Won premierships with guys like Fraser McInnes and Blaine Bocourse, who I'm playing with at East Fremantle at the moment as well. He was part of premiership success with me down at the Stingrays. So, yeah, look, it's a small prelude into hopefully what's to come for us. We're excited about what we can achieve this season, and it starts. It really does start on Saturday.
So, was your last premiership in junior days?
Yeah, so I was lucky enough in Colts to play a Colts grand final the year that East Fremantle made all 3 grades in 2012.
Yep.
Unfortunately, we lost all 3 grades that day. And then, I've been obviously playing senior footy since then, and East Fremantle, I played in a preliminary final in 2014, and then obviously last year we played in the qualifying and the second semi and the prelim as well. So I've had some finals experience, but obviously no real success as of yet. So really excited to see what we can do this year.
More premiership success could be only a couple of wins away, Juppy. Thanks for your time. All the very best in that second semi-final on Saturday.
Thanks, gents, and keep up the good work.
Thanks, Matty. Matthew Jupp from East Fremantle, the captain of the Sharks. And I tell you what, he and his side are in for a huge day over there at Fremantle Oval. Second semi-final.
Yeah.
Can't wait for it. We're going to preview those games right now here on Around the Waffle. East Fremantle Peel Thunder, Saturday at Fremantle Oval, live on the AFL app. Both these sides have had great meetings in their last 2 encounters. 4 points Peel's way in Mandurah, 19 points East Fremantle's way in Geraldton. And go back last year, round 10, only 11 points in East Fremantle's favour at the Wacker. So the last 3 meetings between the 2 sides have been absolute beauties. I reckon we're going to see another classic in the making.
Yeah, I can't see it being any other way. And, it's awesome for some of these East Fremantle players who, like you heard then, they haven't tasted senior success, and some of these guys wouldn't have, not everyone's as lucky as Juffy to taste junior premiership success. So some of them may not have even had an opportunity like this. So they will be, champing at the bit to get out there. And we know that Peel carry a formidable threat. So this is shaping up to be, exactly what we want from a semi-final.
And it's going to be a hard contested game. I think Peel, they were able to get the better of Subiaco through contested football. East Fremantle, if they can really bolster their physical pressure around the contest, that's what could go a long way to winning this game.
Yeah, and so we mentioned it with the Claremont game that's just been, and finals footy, contested footy, and who can stand up. So it's sort of winning the ball and using it well is how you win finals. And
in conditions that are going to be very similar as well. There's going to be rain and a chance of thunderstorms as well over at Fremantle Oval. So it's going to be very, very interesting.
I didn't know. Yeah, I hadn't looked ahead to the forecast just yet. So that's... Oh, look, it's kind of frustrating. I want to see, you'd love to see some of that fine weather that we've had seemingly during the weeks in Perth over the last couple of weeks, but just not on the weekends. So, that's all right because, it just makes that contested ball, all the more important. But hopefully we can get some clear weather in the, for prelim final weekend and into grand final. But I certainly will be watching this one. Really looking forward to seeing what happens.
Who wins?
Oh, not this again. Look, we've had a chat about the mental effect of footy a lot this year. And Matt Jupp spoke really well then about what's happened off the field. But there is part of me that thinks, don't get me wrong, a lot of pressure is being piled on East Fremantle now in the media about what's happened. And I just have a feeling that perhaps will affect something in a way. take nothing away from what Matty said, and that it's amazing that they've addressed it and sort of moved on. But I'm interested to see and what comes of that. So not purely because of that, but Peel looked really good on the weekend. I'm going to pick Peel.
You're going to go for Peel
Yeah,
Thunder.
I am going to pick Peel Thunder.
Big
Yeah,
call. I'm going the other way. I'm going to say East Fremantle.
Yeah, well, you're a little biased, aren't you, Paul?
Oh, well, I will admit, I've had a bit of a soft spot for East Fremantle over the last 2 years. I love their brand of football and their rise up the ladder, especially with some great players and under their coach, Billy Monahan. He knows about finals experience and premiership success as a coach. And if he does it again and gets a premiership this year, he'll be the talk of the town. There's no doubt about that. But I'm going to go East Fremantle. Even if there is wet weather forecast, they've got some very good contested players that I reckon can match Peel Thunder in those tricky conditions.
Yeah, and look, they're top of the ladder for a reason. I'm just, I'm interested to see what comes out of this. I'm a little bit frustrated to hear that they have perhaps bent the rules a little bit. If that's what the finding suggests, that is really disappointing. However, we'll go, innocent until proven guilty, and they have finished top, and with their performances, deservedly so. But we'll see what comes of this investigation, and they've just, like they said, they've got a job to do in front of them. Yep. It's September, like Matt said, there is nothing those players can do about it right now. All they can do is what's put in front of them. So they'll be good. We know that, but I guess I'm picking Peel to be slightly better.
You've gone with Peel. I've gone with East Fremantle. Let us know, fans, who you think's going to win that semi-final on Saturday. Now we go to Sunday, and this one's live on Channel 7 as well. The sudden death first semi-final between Subiaco and Claremont. Western Suburbs showdown at Leederville Oval with better conditions forecast for that first semi-final. It's going to be a bright, sunny day out there at Leederville. Hopefully a great turnout and some very good football between two sides that are star-studded.
You can't trust the weathermen, Paul,
Well, especially in winter or spring. Come on. Still feels like winter even though we're in spring.
Yeah, it does. Although the last day of spring was an absolute cracker. Let's see. I really hope it stays clear. Like I said, want to see good skills. Both these teams have those players in abundance that can use the ball, really well. So exciting game again. I absolutely don't shy away from saying I did not expect to see Claremont in week 2 of the finals.
Nor me. You're not alone.
I will say I don't expect to see them in week 3, but now I have much more. I'm almost even more confused than I have been in the last 6 weeks. They lost 4 in a row, then they won 2 they should have. I was still a bit confused. And then when they went and knocked off East Perth, holy heck.
Yeah.
That was so impressive. And that's sort of how you beat Subi, is that hard, cold-face contested footy.
And that's why I'm going with Claremont.
Wow.
I'm going with Claremont.
Okay.
I'm going with Claremont to win.
There you go. Well, we're at loggerheads once again this week because I'm going with Subi.
Whee.
I'm not ready to trust Claremont. No.
Oh.
No. They've breached their trust.
Oh.
They've breached their trust, and I'll be going with Subi, but I can now see what Claremont, we knew what they had. We know what they have, and if they can bring a performance like East Perth, then they'll take it right up to Subi. But I feel Zach Clark was down a little bit last week. I think some of their mids were as well.
Yes.
So I would be really surprised to see that happen twice in a row.
At least 9 or 10 of those keys were down on form in the second half. They started so well against Peel Thunder on that Saturday in that qualifying final. Claremont, they'll have their key in ruck, Oliver Eastland. He's got a big task at hand against Zach Clark in the ruck. I reckon that's going to be the battle that will win this one.
He's been good this year, Ollie Eastland.
Fantastic.
So they'll certainly be putting it on him and letting him know how important he is in this semi-final to take it up to the Lions. But I just can't see them being down 2 weeks in a row, particularly with a poor second half, what they will see as a poor second half.
Yeah.
That will really, really frustrate Subiaco. So... it's again comes down to the mental side of the game, and they will, as long as they've got that right this week, I reckon they'll be really raring to go in this one.
What a cracking semi-final it's going to be. No second chances for Subi and Claremont. The winner will go on to play in the preliminary final on the 17th of September against the loser of the second semi-final. Now, we're not too far away from wrapping up, but we'll quickly go through the Colts and reserves results in Colts. First of all, Subiaco knocked out West Perth 12-9-81 to 7-2-44. And then Claremont got through to the second semi-final with a good win over East Fremantle, ending their winning streak of 10 in a row by 13 points, 8-7 to 6-6. In the reserve, Swan District, is too good for Subiaco. They'll meet West Perth in the second semi-final on Saturday on Sunday with a 9-10-64 to 5-11-41 win over Subiaco. And then on the Sunday last week, East Fremantle, too good for Claremont in the reserves elimination final, 11-10-76 to 10-3-63. Great competitions, not just in the league, but in the reserves and the Colts. Cracking season we're looking forward to seeing at the end.
Yeah, I saw a couple of Colts games this year, and particularly Claremont. They've got the great Southern boys. So I lived down there briefly, and some really talented footballers getting around. I saw a game with Perth as well. So awesome competition, and that was reasonably close with our top four as well. So. Looking forward to seeing what happens in the Colts and the twos as well.
Now, just a reminder, of course, those finals, the first semi-final at Fremantle Oval for the Colts, East Freo Subiaco, and then the second semi-final on Sunday at Leederville Oval, Perth take on Claremont. And in the reserves, Subiaco play East Fremantle in the first semi-final at Freo Oval, and then Sunday at Leederville Oval in the reserves, West Perth take on Swan Districts in the second semi-final. Forey, thanks very much for your time, mate. Looking forward to another huge episode next week.
Likewise, Paul. Been a pleasure, and looking forward to week 2 of finals.
We're looking forward to your company as well, listeners and viewers, for another edition of Around the Waffle, of course. Episodes dropping on Wednesdays throughout the month of September until our season finale on September the 27th, where we'll review the grand final and look at the fortunes of all the teams this season. Thanks very much for your company. We look forward to your listenership and your viewership next Wednesday when we review the semi-finals, and look forward to the preliminary final here on Around the Waffle, the official podcast of the WAFL. We'll see you then.